How's it going, YouTube? So today I figured I would make another SRT-4 video, something you guys can learn from my mistakes, especially with the Diablosport tuner, because I made a big boo-boo. So right here's my PCM. I'm gonna have to send this thing out and have it reflashed because the car is in theft mode. Well, this PCM is in theft mode. And what happened is, people will say when you're uploading a tune or whatever, if you have the slightest variation in voltage, either spike or drop, it will throw the PCM into theft mode, which it kind of makes the car think it's going into like someone's hot wiring it, is what I'm trying to say. But that wasn't exactly the case for me. What happened was, my Diablosport went through and made the tune. It wrote it to the computer perfectly. The tuner will tell you to unplug it whenever it's done, and of course that's what it said. Everything transferred fine. But my issue is, I didn't wait long enough to unhook my battery. So I'm thinking that there's still a current going through my wiring to my PCM, and when I unhooked my negative terminal for my battery, I think that's what triggered the whole issue. It bricked my PCM, because I've went through tunes left and right with that Diablosport. I have an in tune too. I mean, it's old school, but it works. What has worked. And just for it to randomly just stop or brick my PCM like that, I think maybe I had a bit of play behind that, because like I said, I unplugged my battery. So, and the only reason I done that was to reset my fuel trims. That's what my tuner told me to do, is unhook your battery, reset your fuel trims for the new tune. But don't do that. After the tune has uploaded, just wait maybe 5 or 10 minutes, hell, wait 30 minutes, just to avoid this right here before you unhook your battery. Or start your car, because I didn't even start my car. I mean, I uploaded the tune, then unhooked it. But I'm going, down an entirely different rabbit hole right now that I'm not wanting to do. So, anyway, that was what happened with my car, and it's down. It's been down for about coming on 2 weeks now. I'm going to have this thing shipped out, reflashed, and hopefully have the car back together. But in the meantime, I also went through the trouble of having another PCM reflashed and sent to me, which is on my car right now. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to take a PCM off your car and how to do it right, because again, I learned the hard way and we don't want to go through what I went through. So let me show you guys what to do. So with the hood popped open, I mean, it's pretty simple. You have a 10mm right here that holds in your ground wires for your PCM. And then you have a stud that comes out of the subframe of the car. Let me find my screwdriver and point it out to you guys. There's a stud with a nut on it right there. You guys can't see it. I'm gonna grab a flashlight because I want you guys to see what I'm talking about. That stud right there, it's 10mm. You need a deep well to get into it. Take that loose, and then you're gonna have to jack the car up. And there's 2 bolts, they're 10mm as well, that hold the bottom of the PCM frame to the car. So once you get that loose, you can actually take the whole PCM and the frame up, and you're gonna have to jack the car up and get to those bottom ones, which I've already done that, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I mean by that. So, once you get that loose, the next step are the PCM connectors, and this is where you have to be very careful. So, here's the nut, and the 3 bolts that you'll take out. I realized that I have a 1/4" ratchet, and you guys may need either this, because it's barely clear the PCM connectors to get to this nut right here. So a ratchet wrench would probably be easier for you guys, but anyway. So with the frame kind of out and loose like this, you can get really good access to your PCM connectors, because this is where you don't want to screw up, because you're going to go through a world of hell if you break one of these connectors. So I'm going to show you guys what to do and how to do it right. You have these red tabs on each connector. Just get a flat head and push them just like that. and once you're going to push back, there's another black tab that's underneath the red tab. See, there's a little small black tab underneath that red tab, and I'll elaborate a little bit more on that in a second. But let's reach in there and squeeze that black tab as hard as you can and just wiggle the connector off the PCM like that. This black tab right there. If you jerk these off without squeezing that down, you'll break that black tab. And like I said, I'm gonna go over that and why that's a huge issue. So like I said, squeeze the black connector, and if you wiggle the connector kind of gently up and down, it'll work itself off the PCM. Don't be rough on it, and then your PCM will be freed. So we'll go ahead and just grab it, frame and all. Set that to the side, and just check all your connectors and your pins. See the little golden pins inside of my connector? See how they're pushed up against the this faceplate right here? This is a good looking PCM connector. Now if they're kind of pushed back and not making good contact with their PCM, you're going to have issues. And I'm going to show you guys how to de-pin these connectors, because I had to de-pin this whole connector as I broke this black tab right here, which meant I had to replace this whole piece. So you have to take this faceplate off and then de-pin. So I'm going to show you guys how to de-pin a PCM connector for a Dodge Neon and a PT Cruiser, because they use the same exact connectors. But in the meantime, we still have the PCM connected to the frame. So, like I said, there's 2 bolts that connect the bottom of this PCM frame to your car right above your intercooler piping. I cut mine off because it's just, this right here is more than enough to hold the PCM frame to the car. So anyway, like I said, that's why I didn't show that step in my videos, because I can't show you that step because I cut those off. So anyway, 10mm bolts that hold the frame. So go ahead and just remove those. And just so you guys don't get confused, these really coarse threaded bolts, they're the ones that hold your PCM frame to the actual car. So we'll keep those over there, and this nut. These are fine thread, and these are the ones that hold this frame to the PCM. So anyway, this is off, and we'll keep it with the frame bolts. Your PCM is now free. And just go over these pins, make sure they're good. If this is a PCM, you're going to have reflash to make sure everything looks good. So I'm going to box this one up and ship it back, and you guys are probably wondering why I'm doing that. This PCM is actually bad. It's just physically the internals of it are bad, because it works. This PCM is out of theft mode, but one of these pins, they're all labeled. Your connector faceplates, like on the car, they're black, orange, and white. So whatever faceplate goes to whatever sticker. You know, it's color coded. It's easy. You can't screw it up. But my white connector, one of these pins, pin 38, which is that very bottom right pin, something inside of this PCM is messed up, and it does not let my starter, this PCM does not talk to my starter solenoid relay. I can jump the relay on the car, my ignition switch is fine, the car is getting fuel, the fuel pump primes, and the only thing I've narrowed it down to is this PCM itself. So that's why I'm shipping this thing back. So if you guys have an issue like that, it's more than likely your PCM, the unit itself is bad. So that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to de-pin the connectors. So right here is a connector I clipped off of a PT Cruiser because I needed this connector. So this is what it will look like coming off your PCM. If, like I said, if you break this black tab right here, you're going to have to go through this whole process to replace the whole frame of this connector housing, just so this connector will connect to your PCM. If this black tab is broke, this connector will just wiggle off your PCM. So if you hit a bump or anything like that, your car will shut off in the middle of the road and you'll be screwed. You'll have to tow the car or figure out a way to zip tie. I don't know if there's a way you can even like temporarily force this onto your PCM. So anyway, here's the connector. You've got this red tab right here which locks the faceplate onto the housing. So we're going to get a screwdriver, or you can probably get your fingernail and slide that out. And once you have that red tab pushed out, you can take the faceplate off. So here's the white faceplate. Then have all these exposed pins. And make sure you take that red tab out because it kind of helps hold the pins in place too. So here's all your exposed pins, and this is where we're going to have to start depinning every one of these connectors to repin into the back of your new connector. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that, and make sure if you're depinning to fix another connector, make sure you keep your other connector side by side, kind of like this, and wherever you depin one of your wires, make sure it goes back in the back of the new connector in the exact same spot. So there's wiring diagrams. I have one right here. There's pinouts online you can download, but this right here, take your time. So I'm going to show you guys the depinning process now. You can actually get your thumb and push up on the pin itself, and there's these black tabs, and they kind of spring up. That's what pushes that's what puts tension on these pins. Can you guys see those black tabs in there? See what I'm talking about? That's what holds tension on your pins. It keeps them from pulling out. So like, I can't physically pull these wires out from the back because they're locked in place by these little tabs, these tensioner tabs. So you press the pin up against that black tab, and that's what will free the golden pin free from the housing. So there's one. See how I have that one pushed down now? So I'm going to go ahead and push it all the way out. So I pushed this one all the way out, and it came from that second slot in the middle there. So guess what? This one will go back in that same spot, second slot in the middle of the new connector. Pull it out of this one and push it back in your new connector. It's very simple. I wish I can get a better view of what I'm talking about here, but I'm working with my cell phone in one hand, so I'm trying to get it to focus. Please focus. There we go. So, and I'm trying to look at it through my phone's viewfinder. So again, just push your pins up against the black tabs, and once you have it pushed up against the tab, push the pin back. Now the bottom ones are different because the black tabs are in a different position, and it's the same setup. Grab it and you push down instead of up, and you can push them out just like that. Push it in whatever direction you need to push it. So push it against the black tab and push down. Super easy. This is actually really easy. You can do it with your fingers. I was doing it with a screwdriver before I realized I could do it with my fingers a lot easier and faster. So yeah, these are breaking all these golden pins free. So I'm gonna pop them out, and I'm gonna show you guys how to repin it. So here is a hollow housing with all the wires out, and you can kind of get a better idea of what I'm talking about. These little black tabs, those are what lock in your pins. So when I repin one wire, because it'll be easier to show you guys what I'm talking about, I'll show you exactly how everything works together. So repinning the connectors, it's super easy, it's straightforward. You just got to make sure that the wire you took out of your old connector goes back in the same exact spot into your new one. So, for example, say we're repinning this wire right here, you just start it and you push it in. You push it in until it comes all the way through, like that. Let me set this down and focus on it. Focus. There we go. You see how those black tabs are kind of locking the pin into place now? I'll try to zoom in. But little black tab will actually, it kind of grab on like a claw to the golden pin, and it won't let it break free. But anyway, that's the general idea. And once you get all that repinned, I'm going to show you guys how to clip everything back together. So as an example here, I have just 4 pins in, because there's no reason for me to sit and repin the whole connector. So you got all your pins in place to the back of this connector right here. So now you're going to get your faceplate and your red locking tab, and you're going to connect everything back together. And like I said earlier, this came off a PT Cruiser, so the red tab on it, I broke it because I was in a hurry and I needed the parts. So, but your red tab will be one solid piece, and it will fit right into place with your connector. So now take your time and just align this up right here. It's pretty easy too, because this connector has these 2 little slots right here. That groove right there is actually what slides into the black tab, the top of the connector. So just make sure this groove right here, that kind of looks like the black tab, goes on the top with the black tab. So gently slide your faceplate, this white faceplate, over your gold pins and your terminals. And then now your next step is to get your back plate and fit it over your back wires and clip it together. This step is really easy. So when your connector's all back together, it should look like this right here. And then of course your wiring harness and your wiring loom will be coming out this elbow of the connector. So here's an exploded view of everything. Faceplate locking tab, back housing, and this right here is the most important piece of all, because this is where the black tab locks into these little teeth on the PCM, just like that, and it will clip together. Then you squeeze it. That's why it's very important that when you take these connectors off your PCM, you have that red locking tab pushed all the way back, and you get a firm grip on that black tab and just rock the connector like this until it breaks free. Because you don't want to break that tab and go through the hassle of having to break the whole connector apart and repinning and depinning this crap like I did. So if you take the connector off like a normal human being to begin with, you won't have to deal with this. Trust me, you don't want to deal with that. Now, I couldn't find any YouTube videos or forums like the SRT forums. They're always dead links or full of links of dead photo bucket images. So I want this to be thrown out there for anyone else going through this freaking headache like me. So now I'm going to box this up and send it back and have my old PCM reflashed and get my car back on the road. And another thing I want to throw out there right quick is when you buy a new PCM and have it reflashed to your VIN, that will get your car fixed as far as theft mode and everything. But it's not that simple when it goes back to reloading tunes on it, because each PCM has its own calibration ID. So even though both these PCMs are flashed the same VIN number, They both have their own IDs, so you have to have your tunes rewritten to them as well. So, just throwing it out there, you can't just flash your old PCM tune onto your new PCM. It won't work. But anyway, thanks for watching.